What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Yesterday's video about Miss Kai Dickens and the telepathy tapes had a great reception. I'm happy that this is happening because there's a lot of stuff that I've been trying to understand better about multiple phenomena, not just telepathy or psi abilities. I have seen that amongst the most stigmatized subjects in the world, we have that psi abilities, we have UFOs, we have anything related to ancient civilizations or ancient scripture that does not go hand in hand with the status quo. We can also talk about the Nazca mummies. And one of the topics that I feel the most passionate about also has a high level of stigma. I'm talking about psychedelics. And hear me out. This is just my interpretation of the reason a lot of these topics have been stigmatized almost systematically, because there are organizations, for example, when I was listening to the telepathy tapes, there's an organization that deals with cognitive abilities and communication skills and all this stuff, that they are like gatekeepers, and they were the ones that tried to revoke Dr. Diane Powell's credentials, and they did for a little bit, but then they were reinstated because the research she's doing is impossible to dispute. The evidence is overwhelming. Something very similar is happening with other phenomena. And I think that, for example, this psi abilities.
So the question I want to ask you is, where do you see us now in that evolutionary development?
Let me draw what is called a bell curve, which looks somehow like this. It's being used in describing random events. The bulk of the population today is this intelligent, more or less intelligent bipedal, right? And with a vertical spine, and who pushes the buttons on TV and drives a car, etc., etc. Now, there is some backthrow. That is, there are some people here in this area, very few people who are still gorilla-like. That is, they're hairy. They beat their chest when they see their neighbors and a few other things. And then we have other people who are here in this corner, very few of them, who are very highly developed, because we say that evolution is now pushing mankind in this direction, away from the gorilla types towards the very highly evolved people. At this point, we're here. What's going to happen maybe 1 million years from now, 500,000 years from now? This curve is going to shift. It's going to shift like this. That is, the bulk of the population will be very, very highly evolved. We have gone away altogether from the gorilla types, no more gorillas. And what we have here now is the average man is now the retarded person in evolutionary terms. The bulk of the population is extremely, very, very highly evolved. And the cutting edge of evolution here, these are very, very highly evolved people. We can't even imagine what kind of person that will be. He may not have a physical body at all. What's the habitat, so to speak, of this group here? Well, you just go out and you find them. They're all over the place. The habitat of this group here, what do you think? What do you think you find these people here?
I suspect you would find them in universities. You'd find the people who are very bright, people who are in the leading edge of professions. That kind of thing. I mean, it's an intellectual thing.
Well, I suggest that you find them in mental hospitals, in nut houses. And the reason for that is that these people, they live in a different reality, in a reality which is very changed, and few of them are adapted to live in this reality. So naturally, they can't function very well.
Has been looked at like a fringe topic for a while, in the same vein that psychedelics have been seen as a fringe topic. Right now, for example, I know that if I talk about psychedelics, I'm going to have a few flags below the video where I do mention LSD and I do mention uh, mushrooms, for example. I know that something in the YouTube algorithm is going to catch it and they're going to try and do like a community note on X, but on YouTube, explaining about these topics that are controversial. With psychedelics, I want you I want you to take a closer look at what happened during the 60s. Because although, yes, the use of LSD and other psychedelics were linked to one of the most awful and horrible experiments on humans, which is MK Ultra, there's also those tests that were conducted on servicemen, on soldiers.
Meanwhile, radio communication at the beaches has become difficult, if not impossible. Men with no specific task to perform have relapsed into laughter and inconsequential behavior, though they are still capable of sustained physical effort. This man nearly succeeded in felling this tree using only a spade. However, constructive action is still attempted by those retaining their sense of responsibility and having a definite job to do. In Redwood at 12:10, number 1 section makes contact with number 2 section. Neither section commander feels himself capable of continuing to command, and each tries to hand over to the other. The link-up having been achieved, in the absence of firm leadership, the men begin to drift aimlessly.
Who, when they started feeling the effects of LSD, they didn't want to go to war and they didn't want to kill anybody. And that's like a natural reaction that almost everybody gets when they use a psychedelic, a lack of desire for violence. And this is potentially one of the main reasons why pretty much all psychedelics were banned at the end of the 60s, because just think about it. We're talking about a substance that will help anybody widen their perspective about the world and their understanding of reality, and it will automatically render useless pretty much every control system there is, because that's what psychedelics do. They break you out of the quote unquote matrix of reality, which has been nothing but a control system from the powers that be for all humans. And I think that's the reason why they've been so stigmatized throughout history, and why right now it is very difficult to get proper legal advances in psychedelic substance research. I know that MAPS are doing fantastic work. I know that Mr. Paul Stamets has been doing fantastic work, but we're still not there yet legally, and that's needed. I think that's one of the main reasons also why this psi ability phenomena has been so stigmatized throughout time, because I am talking to you as a person who was a psychedelic experiencer for a decade. I experienced psi phenomena, psi abilities, when I was under the influence of psychedelics. And I do understand the dangers that could come with having psi abilities, because on the telepathy tapes, Ms. Dickens talks about how the parents feel like their privacy is no longer there with their children, because their children can look into their thoughts. And there's a fear that many of these thoughts that the children place in people's heads may not even be their own, may be coming from somewhere else. And this also ties into direct communication with non-human intelligence, because on the telepathy tapes, the kids talk about communicating with what they call angels and God. I'm not sure if this is like a misconception of what these beings could actually be, because I'm not sure what kind of communication goes on the quote unquote hill, where many nonverbal autistic children visit often and talk amongst themselves. I have no idea how that dynamic works, but I am curious to know. I would be very curious to ask them, where does this idea that these beings are angels or God comes from? Does it come from the conversations amongst themselves, or does it come from somewhere else? That'd be good to know. But you can already see how having psi abilities could represent a problem for society in general. And I guess it is our responsibility to try and find the proper way to awaken these skills in everybody, but not allow it to get out of control, because we only just need one sociopath with these skills or one psychopath with these skills to completely break the balance and create chaos around the world. I know that. I've read a lot of different novels. I know how the minds of these sociopaths work. So, yeah, I get it that the powers that be might want to keep this quiet. However, I also see the other side. Nobody has a right to keep a secret of what reality is from the rest of humanity. Nobody has that right. And these people, the powers that be, the scientific establishment, academia, the church, they have been abusing that power to not let us know what we're capable of. And I think the reason podcasts like this one, or like the telepathy tapes or others, are now being more widely distributed is because there's already so many folks that do not agree with this secrecy. And it's the same level of secrecy, the same level of stigma as all those other topics that I told you about. So something needs to change clearly. I agree. We need to do it very extremely carefully. Yes, but you can't keep a secret for much longer, especially a secret that is this big, this paradigm shifting. So I would like to tell everybody who is looking into this to try and let me know what you think in the comments. What would be a good way to disseminate this information in sort of a controlled manner so things don't get out of hand so quickly? Because if when we find out that we are all capable of having at least one of these skills, the world is going to change, whether you like it or not. It's coming. So we might as well try and get ready for it, right? Instead of getting blindsided and just, it's going to be much worse if it comes out catastrophically. Every day that I find out something new about this topic, I understand the term catastrophic disclosure a little bit more. Yeah, it would be a fucking mess. Just imagine, it's like, let's brainstorm for a bit, right? Imagine we all have the power of precognition, just as an example. And you're sitting one day in your living room and you see that somebody wants to murder one of your loved ones. And you already know who that person is. What would you do if you had this power and you knew that somebody was going to murder one of your loved ones? Do you see how quickly this could turn into a shit show? So, yes, the stigma needs to go. Yes, we need to work together. But yes, we need to do it extremely carefully. I completely agree with that. And it also goes, that also goes to the UFO phenomenon, ancient civilizations, the reality of religion, the true history of religion, how they were created and all that. and psychedelic substances, because I think those are completely linked to all of this. Although I know that psychedelics are probably the last ones that are going to lose the stigma, because the campaign to demonize psychedelics was so massive. You have no idea that to this day, I still have the majority of my family members still think that all substances are bad. Everything is bad in when you abuse it. Everything. Television is bad if you abuse it. Water can be bad if you abuse it. So we just need to find a balance. And that's what I've been trying to propose all of this time. And I know with psychedelics is going to be quite more difficult, but we can go step by step. You can tell me what you think the best approach can be. And that just may apply to all phenomena. So let me know in the comments and let me know what you think about this stigma, how it was systematically created to demonize all of these topics. What's the best solution in your opinion? Because I think they're all connected, and we're gonna find a day when they all reach that singularity. And I think it's better to be prepared than not. So there it is. If you like the content you see, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon. And you can share on any platform. YouTube loves that. If you want to support the channel in any other way, please take your pick from the links I left in the description. Every help will be always appreciated. So thank you. And without further ado, I'll see you guys until Monday's video. Bye.